institutions, including our own, are under attack, and I mean attack, serious attack by the extreme right here in Cobb County, this conference is a breath of fresh air. Let me read you a quote from one of our esteemed representatives in the Georgia House. Comes out of today's paper. Let me step in the light because it's small print. At my age, you need bigger print. So this representative said, as it says in the paper, he is not pleased with the attempts by certain professors to roll out what would be called the Department of Cultural and Regional Studies, which would offer such courses as, horror of all horrors, women's studies, black feminism, queer theory and sexuality. He says, I find all of these offensive. He said that of the above subject matter, I find them offensive and without any educational value. I think they glorify victimhood for those who aren't really victims. He goes on to offer a critique of the tenure system. And he says about faculty members, they're here for life. So you can't blame Dan Papp for these crazies. That's us, I guess. You can't. They've got a path, they got jobs for life. They are totally insulated from any ability to say, hit the road. So they do these kind of crazy things, like holding a conference like this. So, I just want to say that this conference puts a lie to that kind of horrible, vicious, unjustified critique of the university. What you're doing here is extremely valuable. It's extremely important for our society, for our democracy, and for our universities to have the kind of dialogue and important exchange that's going on in the course of this conference. So I congratulate you all on putting together a great program. I congratulate you all on your participation, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to hear the talk of an outstanding, internationally recognized professor, Professor John. And I have the pleasure now of turning the program over to a dear friend and colleague, Professor Joe, who will introduce our speaker. Thank you very much.
I think we're honored and really pleased to have Professor John on campus today. Our student Judy will be introducing Professor John, and my colleague and friend Bishop will tell you who Judy is. I was tasked to give kind of a background to all this. I should say that this is the outcome of a discussion that we had in the English department months ago regarding issues of diversity. And, you know, we follow up with dialogues and all that led to ideas and strategies that snowballed to bring to campus one of the most distinguished scholars in Africa, and who was voted one of the top 50 thinkers of our time. So we are really pleased to have this opportunity today. But you know, when you think about it, from 1994 to 2009, the student population at Kennesaw grew from 11,915 to 22,389, which is an 88% growth. The minority student grew from 11% to 30%. And during that time, well, you have 64 growth of the American Indian student population, 287% growth of the black student population, 200% growth of the Asian student population, 579% growth of the Hispanic population, and you have 47% growth for the white student population. So I guess that that is the kind of a rationale that we have behind the thinking of the strategic plan, especially with goal number 6, that say that we have to promote an inclusive campus environment through the adoption of policies, procedures, and curricula that are guided by principles of diversity, equity, transparency, and shared governance. And action step number 3 say that we have to develop and implement educational workshop and professional development opportunities that enhance the intercultural competence and skills of students, staff, faculty, and administrators. And action step number 5, to engage faculty and staff in creating curriculum diversity requirement at multiple levels, support the incorporation of diversity-related topics into discipline and programming. So I believe that that is really the reason why university-wide, and especially in our college, we're being so aggressive to make sure that, you know, this campus is really diverse. And we are not taking diversity lightly. I guess that it is at the programmatic level, at the curricular level, and so on and so forth. And we have to be thankful that we have a college that is doing so well in terms of bringing interdisciplinary program, you know, to satisfy the needs of our growing population. And that's why when we took this idea coming out of the English department and talked to different sponsors, everybody was very supportive, very excited, and without their support, we would not have been able to make this happen. First of all, we have really to thank Professor Diagne when we called him that afternoon and asked him whether he would be willing to come. He was so gracious, you know, to drop some of his commitment and say, well, I'll be there with you. Thank you, Professor Diagne, for that. We have also to thank our sponsors, the English department, the Department of Philosophy, Department of Foreign Languages, the AADS program, the Center for African and African Diaspora Studies, the Muslim Student Association, and the Dean's Office for making this happen. We would like to thank wholeheartedly the administrative assistant to the chair of the English department, Ms. Barbara Witt, who's been working tirelessly to make this happen. And we would like also to thank the student in the MA in professional writing and social media that my colleague and friend Dr. Jan Richter is teaching, who also worked tirelessly, you know, to publicize this event. So with that, I would like to pass on the microphone to my colleague and friend Dr. Jan Richter to introduce Julie.
Thank you, Dr. Diop, and it was so great to hear from my colleagues who are so passionate about bringing the world to Cobb County and bringing the world, especially, of course, to Kennesaw State. The student I'm going to introduce right now is Jody Collins, who's I just heard give a talk on Lacan and the writing of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. She's a Kennesaw State University English major whose scholarship this year is very, very impressive. Ms. Collins presented a paper at the British Commonwealth and Postcolonial Studies Conference in Savannah in February, and she will share a panel with African literature specialists at the African Literature Association Conference in Ohio in 2 weeks, she tells me. She's also one of our student presenters at the AEDS conference today, and I had the privilege of hearing her. So I'm honored to introduce Jody Collins.
Thank you, Dr. Richards. I am greatly honored to introduce our speaker today. At first I was going to give a traditional style introduction, who he is, where he's from, etc., etc. However, I decided that since this is a university after all, everyone here can read his biography either online or in the conference schedule. So I'm not going to mention facts about his life, like how he's the author of multiple books in both French and English, how he was named one of the 50 most intellectual people of our time. Instead, I want to briefly talk about what this man's visit means for me, and from my perspective at least, for the university as a whole. When I began my undergraduate studies, I had a very difficult time deciding what I wanted my major to be. I wanted to focus on literature, philosophy, religion, anthropology, particle physics, and psychology, all at the same time. Even though I've since decided on a major, English, I'm still drawn to disciplines outside of the relatively narrow focus of English literature. This is why, for me, Dr. John's visit means so much. Here's a man who is a leading scholar in all of these disciplines that I just mentioned. And these are disciplines I've always aspired to study to, and he has a way of continually meshing these seemingly disparate disciplines into a cohesive whole, to where every single one of them contributes to and is benefited by all of the others. He studied under men like Althusser and Derrida, names who anyone who has taken critical theory will recognize, even if they don't exactly remember who they were. These men are like legends to me, and to be able to listen to their student, who is clearly a master in his own right, is truly an honor. Finally, I also just want to applaud Kennesaw State University for asking Dr. John here today. This school may well be the most progressive university in the state of Georgia. And having a leading scholar in Islamic studies and philosophy here to speak demonstrates the ongoing determination of the faculty and students to confront the sensitive and complex issues of our times. Hopefully, after hearing his talk today, we will all have a greater understanding of Islam and leave better equipped to confront and overcome racism and blind intolerance. So please give a very warm welcome to our speaker, Dr. Souleymane Bachir Diagne.